We visited Sydney back in 2019. It was our first experience with Australia. The Opera House, the beaches, the animals that you grow up seeing in books. It's beautiful, and it makes sense immediately. For a lot of people, this is Australia.
So when we finally made it back to Australia in November, this time to Melbourne, we were genuinely curious how it would compare. There aren't the same iconic sites that Sydney has, so that meant we'd have to look a little deeper. We decided to stay a month so that we could really understand why people love Melbourne and see what it has to offer when you give it a little more time. I'm Judy.
And I'm Kevin. Welcome back to Finding Gina Marie, where we share our lives as full-time travelers and the connections we make along the way. During our time in Melbourne, we found people to be super friendly, and it all started with our Uber ride from the airport.
He had asked, have you ever been to Australia before? And we mentioned that we had. We loved Sydney. But one of the things that he said just really struck us. Sydney is the face of Australia, but Melbourne is its heart.
After our driver said that, it made so much sense. Of course, everyone knows Australia by the iconic spots in Sydney, but Melbourne is kind of an unknown.
That was a really thought-provoking idea, and we decided to use that as the lens to view Melbourne during our time here.
We stayed in South Yarra, near Punt Road and Toorak. It was lively, easy to navigate, and super walkable. Our big regret was that it was so convenient, it took us a beat to stray away from that area and explore more of the city.
But fortunately, when we decided to do that, trams and trains were super convenient, and it made getting around Melbourne so easy.
What I liked best was that the Mic cards that you use for transports everywhere around Melbourne are easy to get and they're easy to recharge. So the way to get around the metro in Melbourne is with your Mic card. And the machines actually were pretty easy once we figured out the right prompt to go to. You can pay with credit card, you can pay with cash, and you can top these off with an app, which is a nice set of selections.
And it does look like there's a senior option, but I think you have to be a resident, so we did not use that feature.
My only senior card is what I look like, so that doesn't count. Some places make it so difficult to get the Metro cards, no problem in Melbourne.
Yeah, I feel like those charging stations were everywhere. The city understood the assignment.
Yeah, exactly. Because of the Metro systems, getting to the CBD was simple.
This is a service to Williamstown, stopping all stations direct to Williamstown.
Good morning, customers. Your next service to depart from platform 10.
Everyone told us to explore the Laneways, the street art, DeGrave Street, and that stuff was amazing. Except when I got to DeGrave Street, I was thinking, it's a little touristy, the coffee's a bit overpriced. You know, coffee in Melbourne is great all over. Do we have to go to this one spot to get it? I'm glad we saw the place, but maybe not the most special spot in Melbourne. All right, we found a spot, and we've also found that they heat the outdoors. So this is not bad at all.
Considering this is spring, it's been colder here than I expected, but that's all right.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about the coffee culture of Melbourne later, but this definitely didn't feel like the version of it that we expected it to be.
No, it certainly wasn't the locals version of it. But what did really feel like Melbourne and was very impressive was all the street art.
I love going into a city and seeing what local artists have to say. And here was quite interesting. There's an entire street dedicated to AC/DC, which was pretty fun. But then there was also a section about violence against women that was really powerful.
So I know there usually is a ton of reference in street art, but this was especially powerful. This was built during International Women's Day in 2024, and then they added on to it in 2025. And basically it's focusing on women's femicide. So women getting killed specifically because they're women. And I feel like that's actually a lot to think about. And also, there's something that references domestic violence and people dying from after being raped, and just a powerful message. And I feel like with all of this lighthearted stuff, it's very powerful to see these women being acknowledged here.
A lot of statements about uplifting people, entertaining things, decorative things. 3D street art, not just spray paint. So many streets to find, little alleyways. It's worth it.
Yeah, something for everyone.
As we spun our lens around Melbourne, we started to see that there's a huge Asian culture here. Chinatown, Asian supermarkets, so much to explore.
Although it caught me by surprise, it absolutely shouldn't. After Australia, we were going to New Zealand and then Southeast Asia. So I don't know why I wasn't prepared for so much Asian food and Asian influences, but I wasn't mad about it. It was awesome and really good food. It's not as though you're getting like an American Chinese food. You're getting authentic Asian food and very delicious food.
Yeah, we always worry we're getting the wrong foods when we're in a place. And our friends in Melbourne said, no, we have Asian Chinese food 3 times a week sometimes. So please eat it. It's some of the best outside of Asia.
Yeah, we enjoyed it tremendously. Both of us love books, so when someone says you really should see a library somewhere you don't have to twist our arms, we'll even go to bookstores. We just love reading, just being in that environment. So when we actually walked up to the State Library, we were blown away.
Yeah, the exterior was impressive, and people were actively hanging out there. There was people in the front lawn, and there was people playing big chess, which is always cool to see.
But when we walked inside, the reading room was just so impressive.
And it's an active reading room. This isn't just a passive place. People go there for studying. And there's so many exhibits in this library. It's not just about the books that are there. It's about the special exhibits and the way Asian culture affected books. And everything else was just beautiful.
Well, I think what was even impressive was just the architecture of it. So even if you don't like books, if you like architecture, it is absolutely worth seeing.
I took more footage there than I probably should have, but I still love looking at everything from every level.
Melbourne was not without challenges, though. We had 2 big ones that we needed to overcome. The first was jet lag. And although we know all of the tricks and we actually arrived feeling refreshed, we went to bed when we were supposed to.
We did the sleeping on the plane when we were supposed to. We followed all the rules.
But then we decided to take a nap, and you should never take a nap.
No.
And then we were dealing with jet lag for probably 4 or 5 days, which was really a bummer.
It makes it hard to do things that you really want to get out and do.
But that wasn't the only nemesis that we had to deal with when we were in Melbourne. The other thing was the weather.
So what I find absolutely amusing is this says, adapting to climate change leads us to rethink the way we garden on the driest inhabited continent on Earth.
You'd never know that by a recent Melbourne weather.
It's been raining so many days in a row that have supposed to have been nice.
Yeah.
One of our friends who live here says that you get 4 seasons in a day. And I can completely see the truth to that.
Exactly. Nice day today, though. Beautiful. Great for this wonderful garden.
Yeah.
We didn't expect it to be 11 degrees one day and then 29 degrees Celsius the next day. The weather was just constantly ever changing.
And I think it's the most rain they've had since the early 90s.
1992.
That's insane. Why? We wanted to spend some time outdoors in Melbourne. Everyone said, get outdoors in Melbourne. Well, then shut the rain off for a little bit.
It was kind of a bummer because there were things we wanted to do outside, and that put a damper on it.
We had some local viewers who invited us for a barbecue, but unfortunately the weather canceled that on us. We got to see them, but just not to do the things we wanted to do.
But the flip side was that some gelato members invited us for a barbecue, and that day it did work out. We had such a great evening. The food was great, the company was superb, the conversation was outstanding. But I have to admit that the best thing that happened was something we didn't expect. Our host took us 5 minutes away from their home to where kangaroos were. And honestly, my jaw dropped. I had no idea we would see so many kangaroos. I thought maybe we'd see one. I didn't expect to see hundreds.
Yeah, this is just a utility easement, high power lines, and I expected maybe a handful of kangaroos.
That maybe we'd see.
Maybe,
in a distance.
maybe. And you start seeing, oh, there's some kangaroos. It's not just a couple, it's a couple dozen. And then a dozen more show up. And then a couple dozen from the other direction. It's like there's kangaroos all over here. There's nothing special. We're not in a special park or anything like that. They just like the free space.
For as excited as I was about the kangaroos, it also was just the idea of the kindness of people to take time out to show us this, knowing it would be a really special experience. And I think that this is also the time when just things started to click into place and just really feeling like, okay, it's not these iconic sites, but it's these moments with people.
Experiences with people sharing these very Melbourne-esque things.
Yeah, definitely a bucket list achievement unlocked.
And speaking of something else that's very native to Melbourne, coffee culture here is really important.
Not just coffee culture, but they are the originators of the flat white.
Oh, true. Which, thank you very much, Melbourne. I love a good flat white.
Coffee culture is so embedded into the city, we had to do a tour to understand why. We had the perfect coffee tour with Molly from Taste of Melbourne Tours, and we'll put a link below with all of her details. She gave us an outstanding tour, and we highly recommend you book her if you're going to be in Melbourne. She has been a barista at over 300 cafes in Melbourne.
We started at Small Batch in North Melbourne, a sourcer and roaster of coffee beans. They're so careful about how their product's used. They only supply cafes where they trust the baristas will know how to make a perfect cup.
Are you ready for the expert level coffee tasting?
Well, first of all, she told me to sniff, and I'm not that good at smelling at all.
As in almost zero.
I can smell it smells like coffee. And we really enjoyed that part of the city. In fact, as our tour wrapped up, we weren't too far from the Queen Victoria Market.
Okay.
Look at the 5 and 10, listening once again, with candy canes and silver lanes of gold. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
And man, the produce was fresh. Everything was so beautiful and tasty.
There's a lot of places in the market that are strictly locals. You know, it's not just a touristy market.
Yeah, we found the crowded section. This is more touristy than the fresh meats and vegetables.
But the rest of it was really a place we would have loved to shop every day when we were in Melbourne.
So
Right.
we decided to try some meat ham pies, and this is minced beef. And
Yeah.
this,
Now, how'd you ask for it?
so our dear friend Mike Honeycutt said, meat pies after a football.
Yeah.
So that's the way I asked for
Yeah.
it.
What do they get at the football? They get
This was it.
minced pie. Minced beef.
And I think it's supposed to be a hand pie, but I'm going to eat it with a fork.
Oh, they gave us forks, so it's all right.
Oh, but it's very hot, which is kind of nice because it was just a deli, so there was a part of me that thought maybe I would get it cold. So the fact that it was served warm is nice. Flavor of the meat is really rich and delicious. Now, we have had meat pies when we were in Sydney, but they were a little bit different than this. This is really good. And we're really hungry because we did coffee tasting, so we had 3 coffees and a hot chocolate.
No, we did nibble on some amazing bread, so I'm
Yeah.
a little less hungry than I could be.
Well, I guess I just could use something to offset the
Yeah.
coffee.
Oh, this has got a lot of flavor. Wow. All right. You know, minced beef may mean different things for you, but trust me, this is delicious. Wow.
Really good.
And a lot of meat. This'll, I'm glad we only got one. Holy
Oh,
cow.
come on.
Well, she was surprised. You just getting one? It's like, yeah.
We were really bummed that we had only made it to the market towards the end of our trip because we'd been going to just regular supermarkets when we could have been feasting on all of the delicious flavors that we found at that market.
Yeah, and North Melbourne in general. I didn't know that there was a coffee culture part of town. that would have changed my mind right away.
Yeah, there were some really good coffee shops there.
Yeah, I would look in that area if you're looking at going to Melbourne.
Of course, the Thanksgiving that we as Americans are used to celebrating with turkey and all of the fixings is not really something that you would expect to find in Melbourne. But we did go to Lygon Street, which is a famous street for Italian food. And if you've been around for any length of time, you know how much we love Italian food and anything Italian. It wasn't a traditional Thanksgiving, but it was a great way for us to celebrate and be grateful.
Yeah, we got to sit outdoors. We got to watch the patrons come by and argue with which restaurant they're going to sit at. You said you're going to eat at ours. Why are you going over there to eat at theirs? So you know this is an ongoing thing with the locals.
We definitely noticed that people were a little bit more health conscious than in other parts of the world that we've visited, especially even just the botanic gardens that people spent time in and really appreciated. I feel like there was a lot of green space despite this being a busy, bustling city. I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
I did too, and I love that they were bringing a lot of students in, young kids, to show them what the local plants were, teaching them about nature. I mean, that shows a lot about the way Melbourne treats its environment.
We did have some nice days, and that allowed us to explore the Royal Botanic Gardens and even spend time in the little cafe outdoors where we got to see birds just all over the place, bold as anything.
Oh yeah, dinosaurs coming to attack us.
Yeah, it was quite an experience. And then afterwards, we stopped at the Shrine of Remembrance, which is this gorgeous building, and we loved seeing this eternal flame that they have lit.
There's a lot of history in there. There's a lot to see. And we got to go up to the rooftop and walk all around the exterior of the building and get some beautiful views of the city.
And we really liked how focused on mobility that building was as well. There were ramps, and I would give it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, excellent building for that.
I would say generally, the whole city of Melbourne was very walkable, and there were trams and transportation methods. If you have some impaired mobility, it made it a lot easier.
Yeah, metro was easy to get at, trains were easy to get at, trams all over the place. It was a great city if you have a hard time getting around.
There were some hills, but overall, they were certainly manageable.
Just the one up to our apartment.
Every single day.
Every day.
We didn't want to leave Melbourne without visiting the Boonjalaka Aboriginal Cultural Centre and learning just a bit about Australia's First Peoples. We barely scratched the surface, but one of the things that stood out to us was the Aboriginal activism across the 20th century for basic rights and fair treatment.
We'll talk about costs in a minute, but I want to say that comparing Sydney to Melbourne isn't fair. It really isn't. If you're going to Australia, I would say both cities are wonderful. There's reasons to go to Sydney, and there's a lot of reasons to go to Melbourne, and I love them both.
In fact, even after we left Melbourne, I wish I could have gone back and spent more time there because there was so much that I really enjoyed. It took a little bit longer because I just didn't know what I was looking for. But once it started to click, I definitely wanted to spend more time there.
I think if the rain hadn't stopped us from going out so much, that might have made things easier. But overall, it really revealed itself to us.
If you're coming to Melbourne looking for one defining moment, you'll probably miss it. But if you give it time and let daily life unfold, I think it could feel really magical. In fact, there's even a coffee that's called Magic because it's like the perfect coffee.
The balance of coffee flavor and milk, just perfect amount.
And I feel like that also is representative of what Melbourne is. So what did it cost us for 30 days in Melbourne? Travel cost us $676 or $338 per person. but we also spent 83,954 Sapphire Reserve points. Accommodations were $2,005 or $67 per day. Getting around the city cost $124. Dining and groceries were a total of $2,315 or $39 per person per day. Tours cost us a total of $142. The total cost is $5,411. Minus the cost of transportation to travel from Berlin, we spent $4,735, which breaks down to $158 per day and $79 per person per day.
And if Melbourne's Asian culture sounded interesting to you, watch this video next about East and Southeast Asia. Felt intimidating until we learned this.
Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, next week we'll be in Tasmania where we'll be visiting Hobart. You won't want to miss it.
And remember to
Wander more,
worry less.
and bring a passport.
Until next time.
Until next time.